Yes, I'm Mary Holmström. I am one of the founders of the Cascade Festival of African Films, and my connection with the film festival begins with when I was born in South Africa. I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, but I left with my family when I was 10 years old in 1952, and always carried around a deep-seated desire and passion about Africa. I came to PCC Cascade in 1989, in the spring of 1989, to teach African literature. A year later, a colleague of mine in the English department, Linda Elegant, came to me one day and said how interested she was in Africa. She didn't know much about it, and she suggested that we start an African film festival. And I agreed immediately, said it was a great idea, and because I had been looking for films for my African students in the African literatures class, and had realized that the students, even though they were reading the African lit, they were still having pictures in their minds of Western images. And so the films that I was using in my class were helping them understand what things looked like in Africa and how people dressed and so on, what the culture was like. So Linda then went on to recruit two other members besides me. One was a fellow English instructor in the English department, Michael Dembro, and the fourth member was Joseph Smith Buwani, a math tutor in the Alternative Learning Center. Now, the reason she chose Michael was because he taught an African, a course not in Africa, but in film studies. Film is literature. And Joseph was chosen, I'm sure, because he was from Sierra Leone and was very easy to work with. And he was teaching as a math tutor. So we got together and organized the very first film festival. So the current format of the festival is a five-week festival. We open the first week on a Friday and have the Saturday, and then the remaining 4 weeks we have matinees on Thursday afternoons. We have documentary night on Thursday evenings, and then we have a Friday and Saturday feature films. In that period, we will have a Saturday family film day, which is generally midway through the festival. And on the last week, the fifth week, we have a week devoted to films by African women directors. We're very proud that we're showing the Cascade Festival of African Films at PCC Cascade. First of all, the four of us that founded the festival were all teaching here. And so the idea came from here. And we have always felt this is our home, the Cascade Campus, the northeast neighborhood. It just felt so right to have the African Film Festival here. Sometimes we leave the campus for our openings when we show 35mm films, but we still try to stay in the northeast neighborhood. We'll go to McMinimum's Kennedy School or to Hollywood Theater. but we really are committed to staying and keeping the festival right here on the PCC Cascade Campus. We felt it so important that American students could really see films by African filmmakers, because these African filmmakers had such important stories to tell, and they could tell them to us, to the audience directly. And the wonderful thing is about these films is that the African directors aren't necessarily, I mean, they don't want to paper over problems by any means. They're really making films for Africans. They want to educate their fellow Africans and entertain them, enlighten them. And by our watching these very same films, so are we entertained, educated, and enlightened. The main criteria for selecting the films is the quality. There just is a certain standard, high quality, that we try to adhere to as much as possible. The other main one is that they are made by African film directors. Sometimes quality becomes a secondary criteria if we know that the filmmaker, the African filmmaker, is young, is learning, obviously doesn't have a lot of money and equipment, as happened in a number of years ago before digital cameras were so easily available. It was a very expensive proposition. So, but the films were always, you could see the potential. I'm thinking of some of the African films we showed by early women directors as they were learning in the early years of this film festival. I used to have such difficulty finding films by women. And we had set in this festival our 5th week dedicated to women directors. So I always found them. And nowadays, here 21 years later, there are lots of African women making films, both documentaries and feature films. So it's very exciting to see that progress. I have totally loved working with our committee members. And we have such a wonderful group. And I have to mention that our group is made up of we have a diverse committee, and that's been very important to me to share this wonderful festival with them. We all work together on it. And I mean, we have African committee members, we have African American committee members, we have European American committee members. Sometimes I think we have had Hispanics part of our committee. So it's been just such a joy to work with this great community. And this is so rare in Portland to have this wonderful opportunity to get together. And the other thing is that's such a joy is that we create this community by bringing all these people together to view the film. So we get to work together in a diverse community, and then we get to show the films together in a diverse community. And we get to talk about these films. We get to share ideas, experiences and have conversations that you just wouldn't have any other way, because we've provided this setting, and we all feel comfortable. We can really say almost anything, and people will question it and want to know more about your ideas, but you get to say them, and we all learn from each other this way. So we learn not only from the lovely films, the wonderful films, sometimes the heartbreaking films, but we just create a wonderful community of people here at the festival. And that truly has been the best part.